Hello, welcome back to the Maya Toolbelt, and we're continuing our interior environment project. As you can see, I've done a little bit more work in class again. Uh, kind of gotten this wall up here, this top portion up here, kind of up to this point, and I've started the column base down here. So the next part, I think we're going to continue with the column and add that into this area, and we'll go from here. So again, looking at my reference, and again, in post I'll add the reference image so you guys can see it. The column's pretty much cylindrical. We have some details at the base of the column, and I'm looking at it in Photoshop over here, and the top of it obviously has some more interesting details that we'll get to eventually. And then the column base has like a counterpart column top part that extends out above the column as well, that kind of mimics the wall treatment that we have here with all these little blocks and stuff. So first, let's just create a cylinder to start our column. And I'll move it into place. So I tend to remove the subdivisions caps like that. And for now, let's just get the general diameter about right. Looking at my reference image, looks like the base of the column pretty much extends to the outermost part of the top of this square column base that we have here. The bottom of the column extends all the way out to the edge or thereabouts of this square platform. So about all the way out to there pretty much. So I'm just going to kind of have it resting on the platform for now. And then the base of the column has some little details, and then it kind of bevels in until we get to the actual column itself. So for the top of this little piece, I'm going to bevel it. I'm going to go back to my modeling menus, edit mesh bevel. Again, I'll adjust the segments up. This is going to be a bit more rounder a piece, so it's going to have something like that, and I can actually grab the face on the bottom of this and bevel it as well, so we have that kind of under lip. So I'll bevel it also, so we have that kind of rounded effect, and it rounds down underneath here at the base. So I'll grab this face again, and I'll edit mesh, and let's extrude this in a bit. Hold down, press G to redo the extrude. Pull this up and scale it in like this. Then I'll go to Mesh Tools, Insert Edge Loop, and I'll insert a loop right through here. Grab that loop and kind of scale it in as well. So I want it to kind of curve upwards like this. So I'm going to grab this loop, I'm going to bevel it. A bit more round. Grab the top of this face here. And we're going to, let's see, we'll extrude that again. Come up and we'll scale out a little bit. Press G to extrude again, come up and out a little bit again. Something like this. G to extrude, come up like this. We're going to do a lot of extrudes and bevels and so on. And then we can bevel this. I want the fraction of this bevel to kind of match the angle of the extrude I had before. Something like that. Grab this face again. Edit mesh and extrude. We'll scale it in a little bit and go up slightly, so we're continuing that kind of curving shape that we have. G again to extrude again. We'll go up with it. G again to extrude again. Scale it out now and up like this. G again. Scale it out. G again. Come up a little bit like this. Then we'll bevel this part like so. grab this part, extrude, edit mesh, extrude, and we'll scale it in, come up with it slightly. So hopefully you can kind of see the shape we're making here. And again, I'm using the image as my guide as what this shape should look like. So now we're getting to where the actual column part will start. So we're going to go up with this like so, scale it in slightly, and then we're going to bevel this part. Okay, so this would be our column base, about like that. And if we have these little hard edges every so often, we can actually go to mesh display and soften edge, and it kind of softens all that up. If we don't like it to be softened that much, we can click on the polysoft edge history item in the channel box here, and we can adjust the angle down. So I'm just going down here till we get to a good threshold that we like. So something like that's a bit more what I'm looking for. Alright, so now I can make another cylinder to start the actual column. Create polygon cylinder. And I can snap it into place. Make sure it's centered like that. Again, I like to take the caps down to 0. So now, let's see, the scale of this column is going to meet the scale of the base section here, but allow it to have a little bit of a lip like that. So with this kind of dimensions here, we'll increase subdivision's axis. Let's say, how about we double it to 40, so it's nice and smooth. And then, let's see, looking at my picture, the column is pretty much, just making sure it seems like a column is pretty straight. It doesn't really taper that much, if it tapers at all. But I think it might just be straight up. If it does taper, it tapers very slightly at the top of the column. So I'm just going to grab the face here and just going to go up with it. Alright, so this column, let's look back at our picture how far up this goes. So we're going to have, you can see in the picture there, this top molding kind of extrudes out and has like a section that comes out above the column. So the column itself will meet the top, and then we can kind of see these panel details right here. The column kind of meets the top of those, so it's kind of way down here when it comes to what we have so far. And then all that stuff on top of the column will go in that area. So we'll leave it there for now. It does have like a ring around the column, around this top area. So I'm going to go to my mesh tools and insert an edge loop up here. Oh, I didn't like that, did it? Not sure why that happened. Let's undo that and let's delete our history. Sometimes when things like that happen, history is a problem. So let's go to, I have my delete history button here, but if you want to go to the menu, it's under edit, delete by type history. So deleting my history, let's go back to my mesh tools, insert edge loop. Still wants to do that. Must be something in the insert edge loop options. Let's go take a look. Insert edge loop options. Let's make sure I reset. Okay, I had insert with edge flow turned on, and that seemed to mess it up. So with that turned off, there we go. That's what I wanted to see. Sometimes you have to do a little bit of troubleshooting when tools don't act the way you expect them to. Sometimes it's as simple as resetting the tool's options. I'm just going to scale this in a little bit more so it's a little bit thinner. Something like that. Alright, so right click, choose edges, and I'm going to double click this edge loop, and I'll go to edit mesh bevel. So we kind of create this little section, this little ring of edges through here, and I'll click on one edge, double click on the one next to it, and it selects the entire edge ring. And then I'm going to convert my selection into faces by going to select, convert selection to faces. And you see the shortcut there is Control F11. So I convert it to faces, and now I see I have all these faces selected instead of the edges. So with faces selected, I can go to Edit Mesh and Bevel, Extrude, and we can extrude those faces out like this to create this ring effect. And then I'll scale this down because it kind of has this edge to it. Something like that. And I think I made it too small, so I'm going to grab all these vertices, scale them up. And then I want to extend this out a little bit further. So something like this. And now I'll bevel these edges so we get a nice little lip to them. Edit Mesh Bevel. Adjust my fractions. So we have something like this. So again, looking at the picture, you can see that little edge detail there toward the top of the column. Alright, so I got the column pretty much in place. Let's see, I might need to, yeah, I'm going to move it further forward because we do have this section of the wall that it comes out here. I think that might be enough space. If it's not, we can always adjust things. So we're going to pull the column out so it kind of, this front of the column base meets the edge of the platform it's on here without going over. That's the idea. So it pretty much comes all the way out to there. So then we have this room right through here to add in our section of the wall, which I guess we can do that next. And again, I'm looking at it and it just seems like my column's too thick. So maybe it does get taper a little bit at the top. So I'm going to grab my column. I'll go to Deform, and we use a lattice. Over here in the channel box, I'll take the T divisions down to 2, so my lattice is just a box instead of a series of sections in the box. Grab these points and scale them in. There we go. So I can taper the whole column in just a touch. And then once I'm happy with that, I can delete the history and it gets rid of the lattice but keeps the lattice's effect. So I made the top of the column slightly thinner than the base, and I think that's probably closer to the way it is. But even if it's not, it's okay to be a little different. Okay, so now, let's see, I'm going to duplicate this base down here, like so. And what I'd like to do is I'm going to grab this edge loop running down the front of the base. I'm going to use a Edit Mesh Extrude the edge. I'm just going to pull it out like this. So what I've done there is I've created a molding piece with the same kind of pattern of bevels and edge shaping, that profile shape, that same profile shape with this new piece right here. So I'm going to select this face, hold shift, and then select all of it to select the inverse of that and delete my duplicate, so I'm left with this piece right here. And because of the direction I extruded it, the normals need to be reversed. You'll see that it's very black. So I'm going to select those faces, go to Mesh Display, Reverse. It looks like I have one face in here that's more black than the others, so what I'm going to do is select all of them and go to Mesh Display, Conform, and any faces that are different than the rest will reverse like this one just did. So now I have this piece. So I'm going to go to Modify Center Pivot to center my pivot with this piece here in place, and I can put this over here. I can pull it out here and work with it now. So now I want to pretty much do the same kind of thing. I'm just going to duplicate this and rotate it 90 degrees. Like so, and we kind of position this piece over here. We can scale it in because this is going to be a smaller piece when it comes to the depth of it. So you can see what we have here. What we want to do now is kind of cut along here to create this corner effect. So a couple ways we can go about it, but sometimes the hardest way, or the longest way, if you want to call it that, is usually the better way. So I'm just going to snap the pivot down here and snap it those 2 points together like this. So now what I'm going to do is just kind of select these vertices, and I'm going to hold down the V key, point snap, and I'm just going to move them into place so they kind of match the alignment of the vertice they're going to go with. Now I'm not actually snapping them on top of each other position wise, I'm just using them as an alignment tool. Because when you click on the arrow and then point snap, it doesn't move the point in any other axis except the arrow axis, which in this case is the Z axis. So we're snapping them along the Z axis to kind of conform to this profile that we have here. So then what we can do is I can Control D to duplicate this piece now. I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees this way, like so. I'm going to go to Modify Freeze Transformations, which zeroes out my channel box over here. So I'm going to scale this in the Z-axis -1, like so. So now I can delete this piece, and now I have this perfect little corner. Okay. So now I can select these 2 pieces like so. Make sure they're all matched up. Looks like they are. Okay. Go to Mesh, Combine. So now I've combined these pieces together. I need to merge the vertices along this corner where they are all on top of each other. So I'll go to Edit Mesh, Merge, go my options here, make sure my merge settings are reset, which they are, and hit Merge, which now these points are merged together. So now I'm going to duplicate this piece. First I'm going to modify center pivot, and then I'm going to hold down the D key and snap the point and snap the pivot to the bottom down here. So I can Control D to duplicate this now, scale it -1 on the X axis. Now I have the other side. So I'm going to select both these pieces now, Mesh, Combine. So I've combined these 2 pieces together. I'm going to select these edges, or these vertices down the middle, Edit Mesh, Merge. So I've merged those together now. And because I've merged them, I can actually get rid of this edge loop by selecting the edge loop, Edit Mesh, Delete Edge / Vertex, which deletes that edge loop now. So now I have this piece. I'm going to bevel this corner edge loop, Edit Mesh, Bevel, and we can add in a segment or 2 and adjust our fractions so we have something like this. And now I can select these 2 edge rows, and we can make this a little bit shallower, modify center pivot, delete the history because we're happy with this shape now, and move it into place. So the right side, what we used originally, we can kind of shove it where it's supposed to be, and then we can grab the vertices for the left side and extend this side over here to where it's supposed to be. Once we have that where we like it, we can go to Modify Center Pivot again, and we can use our alignment tool. Hold down V for snap the point, click on the arrow and kind of align it to a point that's down the middle, like this point in front of the column here, so we can kind of see how our alignment is, and it looks pretty good. So now we have that piece. So it took roughly 4 minutes, 5 minutes or so to kind of get this piece out. We used this as our profile shape. We extruded that edge out. Then we matched the corners here and created the whole piece. So for the actual wall segment that's coming out, let's see, this actually might be too shallow. Let's grab these vertices again and pull this in like this. So now we have the thickness I think that we need. let's grab the edge loop along the top. I can go to Edit Mesh, Extrude, and we're going to extrude this up. Like so. Alright, let's look at my image now. It looks like this wall piece also has kind of this loop detail here at the same place. So we're going to add that edge loop in that area. Edit Mesh, Mesh Tools, Insert Edge Loop. Click it right through here. And we'll just do the kind of same steps that we did before. We'll Edit Mesh, Bevel to create our edge ring. Make it approximately the same thickness. Add a segment in there. We can grab this segment, and I'm going to hit R key for scale. And while I have the scale tool active and I'm selecting this edge loop, hold down D and V. I'm going to snap the pivot point. I'm going to align it to the same Z depth as this point here, so we're centered in the back of this piece now. Click on this Y axis scale handle, and we're going to scale this out like this. Okay. So now we can bevel this, kind of trying to match that thickness that we have on the column. And now I'll select all these edge loops and bevel them again to get that same kind of lip detail. Adjust my fractions to kind of match the column. There. So it's pretty close, I think. Alright, so I think we'll pause there. I think I have class tomorrow actually as of this recording, so the next video I will be further ahead. That seems to be the pattern. I seem to make one video a week approximately. I need to kind of speed that up actually if I want to if I want to match the pace that I expect my students to have, which I'm definitely not doing that really well. But anyway, we're making progress though. So in the next video, or at least tomorrow in class, I'll probably do the top of the column here, where this detail, here, let me bring a picture in, where it kind of matches the molding detail that I have here, and have that all come out here, and then I have the top of the column itself, that kind of more decorative section of the top of the column. But yeah, making progress, coming along. And again, once we get all this, so I can select all of this, Control D to duplicate it, and I can group it, and we just kind of copy it down the hall. So we have something like this, and you can see once we get this work done, a lot of the room will be done. We just have to get this kind of one iteration of it done, then we can duplicate it for everything else. So again, looking back at the picture now, let me look at mine too while you're looking at it. You can kind of see just with duplicating what we have, we've done a good bit. We just have to finish the top of the column, then we have to extend up this area above these arches that reaches the roof, and move on from there. So yeah, making good progress. Let me undo all that, and I will see you guys next time.